Beauty is a double-edged sword. It easily enchants, yet brings calamity. It means beauty doesn't need to be ostentatious to radiate extraordinary power. To captivate others, making them lose self-control and fall into chaos. This educator's ideology served as a wake-up call about the dangers of being obsessed with beauty. See that as the reason for the decline in human morale. But beauty often comes with sorrow. History still recounts countless tales of stunning beauties whose charm could topple cities and even bring dynasties to their knees. Turning glory into tragedy for the deluded. Who are they? What stunning beauties have altered the very course of history? Are they the cause of the disaster? Or merely victims caught in the whirlwind of ambition and power? The answer will be revealed in today's video. The next installment in the Four Great Neutral Powers film series. Episode 2, The Four Great Demon Relics. The Four Great Demands. From around 2070 to 1600 BC. During that period, China was under the rule of the Shah dynasty. This is considered the first feudal dynasty in history, founded by the legendary King Yu the Great, spanning 471 years of existence with 17 kings. This nation has achieved a series of remarkable accomplishments, laying the foundation for the administrative systems of subsequent dynasties. Yet, the Shah dynasty could not escape the inevitable tide of change. And the next king was the root of it all. King Xi was the 17th and final ruler of that dynasty. Under his leadership, the Shah dynasty endured a dark period of severe decline. According to historical records, Li Kai was none other than King Xi of Sha. He was infamous as a cruel, debauched, and unrighteous king. He was seen as someone consumed by lust and solely driven by personal pleasures. The king cared neither for governing the country nor for the lives of his people. With an authoritarian, domineering attitude and zero tolerance for any criticism, King Xi never heeded the advice of his loyal ministers, and often make mistakes in decision-making. To hold power together, peeling the loot, King Xi ordered his men to erect a bronze pillar, waiting for the one who fans the flames, then burning with longing. Whoever dares defy the king's orders is immediately seized and forced to row the royal boat. But King Qiet's cruelty did not end there. According to historical documents, this king was also renowned for frequently leading military campaigns to conquer vassal states, both to test their strength and to expand their territory. Sometimes, a small neighboring state near the Shah became his target. At that time, King Xi commanded a powerful army and enjoyed the people's support. The leader of this small nation is constantly plagued by fear and anxiety. To establish friendly relations, the vassal state had to offer tributes including cattle, food, fine horses, and beautiful women to the Shah dynasty. Among those people, there was a woman named Mui Hai. Beauty like a flower, radiant as spring, enchanting all who see, making one wish to linger there forever. That is the word used to describe the beauty of Mui Hai. She possessed a rare and delicate beauty, hailed as the beauty queen among the most famous legendary women of ancient China. Her sparkling eyes were as beautiful as the stars, her skin smooth and fair like snow, and her delicate features exuded an irresistible charm. Her hair was always neatly tied up in a bun, exuding a gentle yet elegant grace. In legends, Mu Hai's eyes stand out with a beauty that is both commanding and mysterious, irresistibly captivating. The beauty of Mrs. Hai isn't just in her appearance, it also radiates from her graceful gestures and elegant demeanor. That woman uses her charm and skillful communication to win everyone's affection. No matter the circumstances, Mui Hai always maintains a calm, gentle, and confident demeanor. Create a pleasant and relaxing feeling for the person you're interacting with. From their very first meeting, King Kiet was overwhelmed by her beauty. Immediately, Mui Hai was taken back to the palace, where she enjoyed the fullest favor and was utterly pampered. Legend has it that this exquisite beauty had three great passions. It is the sight of a boat suspended upon the wine-dark lake called Tu Tri, the sound of silk tearing through the void, the attire of a nobleman draped upon one's form. Among these, the most famous are the wine parties. According to folk legend, the space where this closing ceremony takes place is incredibly vast. The alcohol residue was used to build a surrounding embankment with a circumference of up to 16 kilometers. It's filled with all kinds of sweet wines. There were about 3,000 soldiers stationed there, ready for the orders of Ha Kiet and Mui Hai. When emotions run high, they must bow their heads and drink wine as if it were plain water. Drink until your belly swells, collapse, and die in regret. This wall delighted the cruel king and the woman beside him. Not only that, Mui Hai also has a peculiar fascination with sounds like silk being torn apart. Because then, she will smile. King Kiet was utterly enchanted by that smile, so he ordered the palace maidens to bring silk before the palace steps day and night. Weaving and unraveling, finding joy in the passing of endless days. That action created an incredibly magnificent and lavish scene. At that time, silk was one of the most precious commodities. That was just two of the countless reckless and arrogant acts King Kiet inflicted upon Mui Hai. Yet, these characters refused to stay content by the king's side. Realizing he had the king's favor, Mui Hai did not hesitate to involve himself in important political decisions. Every decision Ha Kiet made followed her advice, which infuriated the feudal lords. Among those tasks is the administration of territorial affairs. The Bamboo Annals. After offering sacrifices to the deities, the monarch suddenly changed his mind and led the army to attack the kingdom of Mansun. To persuade the Xia dynasty to withdraw its troops, this country offered 2 beautiful daughters as tribute, and the offer was accepted. From then on, King Kiet doted excessively on the daughters of Mansun, to the point of completely forgetting the existence of Mu Hai. Meanwhile, Tan Thang, an outstanding figure of the Shang nation, gained increasing trust and admiration from the people. He secretly sent people from Guidong to the capital of the Xia dynasty to present tribute, as part of a plot to overthrow King Kiet. Noticing that Mui Hai had fallen out of favor, he regretted having used him in the past to gather many court secrets. Moreover, Tan Thang also made great efforts to forge alliances with other tribes. At the same time, they also sent troops to destroy the neighboring vassal states that had been allied with the Xia dynasty. All of this happened while King Kiet was indulging in wine and women, neglecting the affairs of state. Finally, Tan Thang personally led his army and decisively crushed the royal clan's forces in the pivotal battle at Mindu. Finally, the Xia army was defeated, captured, and exiled to Nanchao. China at that time welcomed a new king and the dawn of a new dynasty. So, what will be the fate of Mui Hai after King Kiet's disastrous defeat? Some records recount that this beauty was executed for being seen as the embodiment of depravity and decadence, as well as the cause of the downfall of the Xia dynasty. Beauty is a curse. Later, people would remember Mai Nun as the first symbol of a woman who enchanted kings and brought calamity upon the entire land. Shortly after the new state was established, the new king enacted numerous policies to address the consequences of the extravagant indulgences of Mui Hai and Ha Kiet from before. With a spirit of inheritance and progress, the Shang dynasty elevated Chinese society to new heights in all 3 aspects: economy, culture, and military. Advances in state governance, art, religion, and technology made the Shang dynasty a remarkable period in history. This dynasty lasted for 554 years with a total of 30 kings across 17 generations, and there was not a single exception until the last monarch willfully ascended the throne. He is a rare talent, possessing extraordinary intellect and unusual strength. Immediately after ascending the throne, the king proclaimed himself King Zhou and was regarded as a promising ruler, capable of leading the Shang dynasty to greater prosperity. He skillfully organized and commanded the army while conducting numerous military campaigns to expand and consolidate the territory of the Shang dynasty. Under the overwhelming might of King Zhou, the vassal states trembled in fear and sought ways to sue for peace. One of them was the state of Hutu, a land rich in resources and of great strategic importance, yet it refused to submit to the Shang dynasty. To assert his authority and punish the rebellious vassals, King Zhou decided to send troops to attack the state of Su. After many days of battle, the Shang king gained the upper hand, leaving the vassal states weakened and swiftly defeated. The people of the Su kingdom endured immense suffering and oppression, while the king's daughter, Daji, was taken to become a concubine for King Zhou. Upon returning to the capital of Tru Xie, King Thuong finally had the chance to behold the princess of the country with his own eyes. According to historical records, Dat Qi was renowned for her unparalleled beauty, a rare and peerless charm that few could match. She bloomed like a lotus in the morning mist, her eyes sparkling like autumn lake water, her skin fair and smooth as jade. Her voice was clear and gentle, trembling softly, enchanting the listener and leaving them spellbound. A single smile topples a city, a second smile overturns a kingdom. Not only that, she was also renowned for her versatile talents, mastering the four arts of zither, chess, calligraphy, and painting, excelling in the art of tea brewing, and indulging in refined pleasures. Investiture of the gods. The story goes that one day, Lord Chu visited the temple of Nuwa, the goddess of creation in Chinese mythology. Upon seeing the statue of the goddess, the vagrant was so enchanted by her beauty that he uttered blasphemous words. He composed a poem with disrespectful undertones, implying that if Nuwa were a real person, he would force her to become his concubine. This act offended the deity, enraging her and leading her to decide to punish King Zhou, thus ending the Shang dynasty. Lady True gathered 3 demons at Qiuli Mountain, among them was the 9-tailed fox Li. Vi Ho is tasked with possessing the body of Dat Qi, a girl from the land of Ta who was captured to become a concubine for the king. With the power of Ho Li, she transformed into a stunning beauty, as exquisite as a painted portrait, radiating a heavenly fragrance, just as the legends recounted. After meeting Daji, King Zhou immediately made her his favorite concubine, showering her with all his love and favor. To please the beauty, the king took her to Tiu Kai Nuk Lak. This is a vast lake, large enough for boats to navigate, built upon the foundation of an old palace with inner walls clad in stone sourced from the sea. The entire lake was brimming with wine. In the middle of the lake stood a small island, set up to hang skewers of grilled wild game. Uncle Vong, Dat Qi, and their friends spent their days and nights cruising on boats, feasting and reveling so freely that they lost track of time in the outside world. The Shang king did not stop there. He also bestowed upon the beauty a lavish palace dedicated solely to leisure and entertainment, known as the Deer Terrace. This structure is situated on a hill in Shu Xie, designed with multiple tiers. Each floor was adorned with gemstones, pearls, and other luxurious materials. The interior is exquisitely crafted with opulent gold and silver motifs, made from precious wood and adorned with countless high-end decorative pieces. To see Dat Qi smile, King Tru was willing to trample upon his people, exploiting them to the point of exhaustion, both their labor and wealth, just to build the Lok Dai's wealth or the people. Once favored by the king, Daji quickly revealed her deceitful and greedy nature. Legend has it that this pair was notorious for their cruelty and brutality. To please the beauty, King Shu heeded her instigation and devised countless savage punishments. The most famous one has to be Zai Ban. It is a large, deep moat teeming with countless venomous snakes. By the king's command, the soldiers will strip the victims naked, then push them into the pit to be bitten to death by venomous snakes. Zai Ban was also where King Zhou and Daji amused themselves by hosting entertainment games. The palace maids and eunuchs will compete against each other. The winner will be rewarded with a feast of meat and wine at 2 Tri Nuk Lam. The loser will become prey for the venomous snakes. Daji was not only infamous for her bizarre indulgences but was also widely rumored to be cunning and cruel. Legend has it that heavy rains and fierce winds forced the divine king to alter his original decree. Seeing the king enchanted by Dat Qi, Huang Ti summoned her to the palace to admonish her, hoping the king would come to his senses. Despite the authority, she not only showed no fear but also mocked because Queen Kuang was punished. Even more, Ho Li's deceitful nature was laid bare when Dat Qi conspired to overthrow Queen Kuang, falsely accusing the empress of plotting rebellion and attempting to assassinate King Tru. Upon hearing this, the king flew into a rage and immediately ordered Kung to be arrested and tortured to extract a confession. Queen Kuang was in unbearable agony, so she gouged out her own eyes and died. At this moment, Dat Qi officially becomes the empress. Even to consolidate her position, she went so far as to kill the 2 sons of the late queen, Anhong and Angao. But the princes were lucky to escape. The tales of Daji are still countless, never fully told. But perhaps when mentioned, people are always captivated by the tales of her insatiable curiosity. History recounts that one day, the beautiful lady was conversing with the court officials and attendants about human reactions and their capacity to endure pain. This made Daji extremely curious, so she immediately suggested King Zhou conduct an experiment. Bao lack. Then, the white mouse of the fox spirit had no choice but to cross by blocking the way with its foot. Watching so many people die in excruciating pain, along with their desperate moans, filled Dat Qi with immense delight, to the point where she burst into wicked laughter. At this moment, King Zhou was lost in his delusions, allowing the beauty to continue her cruel deeds just to please Daji. The heavens paused there. The favored consort of the Lordless was endlessly curious about a certain folk rumor. The heart of a sage often has 7 openings. But someone else is the new guinea pig to satisfy Dat Kai's curiosity. At that time, the beauty was at odds with Tai Can, the uncle of the chieftain. He was a high-ranking mandarin in the imperial court, renowned for his sharp intellect, integrity, and unwavering loyalty. Seeing the king utterly infatuated with Daji, indulging in pleasure and neglecting state affairs, Taikan had repeatedly advised against it, so the beauty of King Shu always saw him as a thorn in her side. However, he couldn't do anything to the high-ranking official because the man had a close relationship with the king. Once, Bygone could no longer endure Dat Kai's cruel actions. He then candidly spoke before the king, saying, "Heeding not the wisdom of our forebears, yet blindly following the counsel of women." As soon as the disaster ended, they stopped coming over. Seeing the opportunity ripe, the 9-tailed fox immediately used the Chu King's order to search for Tai Can. At that moment, I satisfied my curiosity and plucked out the thorn in my eye. Dat Qi held supreme power, favoring whomever she pleased, and those she favored were held in high esteem. Those despised by the devil shall meet a tragic end. The arrogance of the beauty and the infatuation of the king filled the court officials and the people with deep resentment. Among them was Ko Fat, a descendant of the true lineage, who possessed both military prowess and a deep-seated resentment toward heaven and earth. He, along with the strategist Zhang Zia, gathered an army and quietly bided their time to launch the uprising. By 1046 BCE, this general launched a campaign at Muya, a location near the capital Jiaozhi. The king's army was ambushed and quickly fell apart. Uncle Vong realized it was too late, and there was no way to change things anymore. The last king of the Shang dynasty, King Zhou, set himself on fire at the Deer Tower, officially ending the 644-year reign of the Shang dynasty. As soon as the former king ended his own life, Dat Qi was immediately arrested. Because of her extreme cruelty, she was executed by Zhang Zia using his mystical powers. The fate of one of the 4 great calamity engines of Zhang has now officially come to a close. Here are the 2 translation options as requested. The Western Zhou dynasty established the feudal system by dividing the territory into separate regions and assigning them to vassals for governance. This system maintained control over a vast territory while ensuring the loyalty of the feudal lords to the Son of Heaven. This period also saw the emergence of many schools of thought, such as Taoism, legalism, and Mohism, turning the Zhou era into the time of the 100 schools of thought. Under the leadership of wise rulers, the Western Zhou dynasty flourished, and the people's lives grew increasingly prosperous and abundant. However, the scenario of the collapse of the Xia and Shang dynasties continued to repeat itself. That woman of peerless beauty indirectly led the most prosperous dynasty in Chinese history to its downfall. So, who is the one you love? Beauty is a harbinger of disaster. The legend goes that in the final years of the Xia dynasty, a pair of divine dragons descended upon the royal courtyard, proclaiming themselves to be the kings of Bao. The village chief learned of the matter and promptly organized a solemn ceremony, during which the deities granted each person a portion of sacred water. They were carefully kept in the wooden box. From the late Xia dynasty until the end of the Shang dynasty, no one dared to open that wooden box. By the time of King Shula, that ruler finally opened the box to look inside. The translation staff suddenly turned into a black divine serpent, charging into the harem and terrifying a palace maid into fleeing. Afterward, she gave birth to a beautiful, angel-like baby girl. Because the child was born under unusual circumstances, compounded by the superstitions of the villagers, the newborn was thrown into the Tan Tui River. A couple found an abandoned child and took it to uncle's country in the west, raising the child in a small palace where they lived. After King Le Vong passed away, his son King Ung Vong succeeded to the throne. This was the period when vassal states were accused of failing to fulfill their tributary obligations or being disloyal to the imperial court. The king was enraged by this and launched a military campaign in retaliation. Lord Ung's army swiftly achieved victory, capturing many prisoners of war and escorting them back to the capital. Among them was a child thrown into the Tan Tui River, My Lady. At this time, the girl had grown up and was named Bao Si. Her beauty was so breathtaking that it could topple cities and kingdoms, leaving everyone in awe. Legend has it that she possessed skin as white and flawless as jade, smooth without a single blemish. Her eyes were as clear as an autumn lake, and her graceful figure swayed gently like a willow branch in the breeze. The moonlight shimmered brightly upon his silver hair, and those captivating eyes stirred an endless flutter in one's heart. Bao Tu exudes an air of nobility and an elegant aura, yet beneath it lies an enigmatic, icy demeanor that leaves those who gaze upon her utterly captivated. Beauty caught King Shu Yu. Bao Tu was brought into the royal harem and became the king's most favored concubine. Even the king of Shu deposed both his queen and the crown prince in order to consider making the beauty his new queen. Even though he had the beauty in his grasp, King Shu Yu was utterly exhausted and frustrated because Bao Tu never stopped laughing. He tried every possible way to make her laugh, even offering a reward of 1,000 gold taels to anyone who could please the beauty. A court official proposed the idea of lighting the beacon tower to summon the vassal lords, then discussing together to find a solution. Those were signal towers built along the border to provide emergency alerts in case of enemy invasion. When the signal fire on the beacon tower blazes, neighboring vassal states will immediately dispatch troops to reinforce and firmly secure the border region's safety. However, the sight of leaders hastily rushing to the scene in an emergency, only for nothing to happen, created a chaotic scene. Seeing this, Bao Si burst into laughter. The radiant beauty of the woman pleased King Yu immensely. For a long time, the king repeatedly lit signal fires, terrifying the feudal lords, while Bao Si merely giggled, burning the fires to amuse the feudal lords. Since winning the beauty's heart, King Shu Yu cared little for court affairs, spending all his days doting on Bao Tu. He didn't even bother to recruit more beauties, focusing solely on doting on Bao Si alone. King Yu Vong once again repeated the mistakes of past monarchs, drowning in delusion for the sake of beauty. The court was in chaos, and the neglected populace left many high-ranking officials deeply discontented. The divine lord of the Shen clan allied with the discontented vassals, then collaborated with the Wanyan Rong tribe to jointly plot a rebellion. In 771 BC, that army attacked the capital city of Haojing. King Yu ordered his men to light the beacon tower to call for reinforcements, yet no vassal states came to his aid. In the ancient Chinese version, the moon boy, Hu, had to single-handedly face the fierce onslaught of Huyan Nung. The capital was severely devastated, its wealth plundered, and the court plunged into chaos. At that time, King Yu of Zhou lost the battle and fled with Bao Si and their young child, but they were pursued and killed by Marquis of Shen. The fate of that beauty was not fully recorded in the annals of history. She may have been killed alongside King Yu of Zhou, but some historical records also state that Bao Si was taken as a royal consort due to her unparalleled beauty. Red-faced calamity. After the fall of the Western Zhou dynasty, the Eastern Zhou moved its capital eastward, establishing it at Luoyi, which is now part of Luoyang City in Henan Province. The power of the Son of Heaven has severely weakened, reduced to little more than a puppet in the hands of the puppet master. Once a vassal state under the Zhou dynasty, the kingdom of Zheng had now grown powerful and more independent, asserting its authority and ushering in a prolonged era of prosperity. During this period, China consisted of hundreds of large and small states, but only a few powerful ones emerged and gained dominant positions. During that period, the Jin state was ruled by Duke Xian of Jin. He was the 16th ruler of the Jin state, renowned for his exceptional political and military prowess, who laid the foundation for the country's prosperous development during the spring and autumn period. Before ascending the throne, Duke Xi of Jin had many wives and sons, among whom the most prominent were Ji Chang'er, Ji Yiwu, and Ji Shensheng. In 672 BC, Duke Wu of Jin invaded the territory of the Rong tribe and captured two daughters, Li Ji and Xiao Ji. Even heroes can. Ancient ceramics are often described as possessing the beauty of spring flowers and autumn moonlight, elegant, pure, yet exuding an enchanting allure. Her face shone like the morning sun, her eyes as clear as dewdrops, her skin smooth and fair, her lips rosy and fresh, and her long, glossy black hair. All of it made anyone who saw her unable to look away. She possesses not only outward beauty but also exudes a rare, elegant, and noble demeanor. S graceful walk and gentle way of speaking exude such charm that anyone who meets her can. Overall, the beauty of this exquisite woman is a harmonious blend of the gentle yet enigmatic charm of the Nung people, creating a distinctive and utterly unique allure. With her exceptional beauty, Li Ko was recommended to the imperial palace and quickly became the most favored concubine of Duke Xian of Jin. Enchanted by the beauty, the king of Jin could not bear to leave her side even for a moment, indulging her every whim. 1 year after being honored as the favored consort, Li Ji gave birth to a prince, named Xi Shi. Because there were too many princes, King Hin Kong found it a headache to choose his successor. Finally, his father was chosen as the successor. This will surely sadden Li Ko, especially since she also has a son. Therefore, this concubine used her beauty to persuade the king of Jin to appoint He Ji as the crown prince. But since the eldest son was the heir and had the support of the majority of the court ministers, deposing him from the throne was nearly impossible. Thus, Li County personally placed his son on the throne as his successor. She had witnessed the birth of the king of Jin. The stone tablet recording the event had been falsified, yet the king still did not truly believe. Seeing this, Li County quickly flew closer, using her proboscis to suck nectar from the surrounding flowers to lure the butterflies over. She pretended to accidentally run into her father in the flower garden, then feigned fear of a bee gathering nectar, deliberately shooing it away with her hand. But the more he chased, the more chaotically the butterflies fluttered, so my father pretended to help. At this moment, Duke Xian of Jin stood on the platform, thinking his son had deliberately knocked over the wine vessel, and was utterly furious. The more I trust the beauty's words, the more I want to abandon the plan to depose the crown prince. By the year 655, Li Ko told his father that the king had dreamed of his mother, Tai Quan, and wished for him to perform a sacrificial ceremony. Out of filial piety for his father, he obeyed without hesitation and immediately ordered someone to bring the sacrificial meat to offer to Duke Xian. Li took advantage of the opportunity to poison the food, then had a dog and a minor official taste it first. Both died shortly afterward. The king, enraged, immediately ordered their parents to be captured and executed. Deceived and filled with resentment, Mr. Ben took his own life, ending a tragic existence. Meanwhile, as Li Ko rejoiced over the success of his plan, his son officially assumed the position of crown prince. The two other sons, Trung Yi and Di Go, went to the capital to visit their father but were also slandered by Li Ko, so they fled in fear back to their land of Chan. Now, no opponent dares to challenge the jester's throne anymore. The power of the Nung tribe's beauty surpasses that of tens of thousands. No matter how cunning the schemes, the deceitful cannot escape karma's retribution. In 651 BC, Duke Xian of Jin passed away after 26 years of reign. With no one to protect them from behind, Li Ko and her son immediately found themselves in danger. Due to his mother's tyranny, even as the crown prince, he received no support from the court officials or factions. Many in the court began to doubt his leadership abilities and grew resentful of the separatist faction's manipulative schemes. At this moment, Chang'er, who had once been ousted from the previous power struggle, seized the rare opportunity. He received aid and support from many lords, most notably Lord Tahin. After a long period of careful preparation and campaigning to secure support from both other nations and domestic factions, Chang'e returned to the state of Jin around 636 BC and launched a rebellion to overthrow Xi Shi, also known as King Xi Shi. The uprising achieved swift victory, and he reclaimed his lost throne, officially ascending to power and adopting the regnal name Duke Wen of Jin. Li Ji no longer had a place in the court. All her cruel deeds were exposed before the officials. Hu County had to endure severe punishment. According to some historical records, she may have been killed by a lion, or possibly murdered in the political power struggle during the time of Trung Yi. However, other sources reported that after her son Li was killed, she attempted to hide in the flower garden before falling into a well shortly afterward. Every soldier of Trung Yi who was caught red-handed committing a crime was captured alive, then chopped into pieces and thrown to the ground. S. extraordinary beauty and cruel heart earned her a place among China. Those who knew the story afterward were horrified. 4 women of breathtaking beauty, capable of toppling cities and kingdoms, yet their treacherous hearts became legendary in Chinese history. Tui does not belong to the same era. Mai Nun, Dat Qi, Bao Tu, and Li Ko are all iconic figures representing the tale of beauties who brought ruin to kingdoms, the legend of Tui. Because, behind that mesmerizing beauty lie schemes, deceit, and painful partings. They are the masterminds behind the collapse of once prosperous feudal dynasties. Whether the legends and tales of the 4 great evils are real or not, they are merely figments of the imagination. Nation wreckers. Expand further or prolong further? Perhaps each person can only imagine the answer in their own way.